I find it amazing how hard discipline is in some ways. I mean, not the yelling or getting frustrated that comes easy for all of us when you have multiple kids, but I
Yeah.
would say nobody tells you how hard it is to discipline somebody that you love, and you know you're doing it out of
And
love,
I remember
but
too when I
it's like
did my signing, I had my friend Alexis. She was crying at the signing because she just knew that I was going to like war and like all this stuff. Then once she like calmed down, the one question she asked me was like, "If you kick the football over the side of the boat, like who goes to get it?" I was like, "Lex, I found out we're not." I said I probably should have circled back on that.
it's so funny. Um, so tell me kind of what do you think your biggest challenge is as a parent and a dad? Welcome to the Dispatch on Purpose. I'm your host, Amy Dahl, and we are here for our first podcast of 2026. Happy New Year to all my guests and listeners. I am super excited to kick this year off. We are going to have a great year. We have some amazing podcast guests lined up. And to start the year, we're doing a virtual podcast with Myer Krah, who is a fellow Naval Academy grad, fellow Navy football veteran, and also a fellow podcaster and father who I've been inspired by watching his Instagram and his posts. And so, welcome to the podcast, Myer.
Thank you. I made the first cut of
You
2025 or
did. You are
2026,
my
I guess. I'm so
first
excited.
guest.
And I
And
feel
I
even
dressed
better.
for you.
You
I
got the
dressed for you
jersey
today.
on. It
I
doesn't get any
know.
better than that. I don't get to
I
talk
know.
about, like, Navy football stuff as much. I literally just hung 2 jerseys too, so, like, I feel really good to see you with this jersey on.
Awesome. Yeah, it was fun. It was easy, and Navy football's kicking butt. So it's been a
Kicking.
fun year to watch them. So
Kick
you are a fellow Navy veteran, a Naval Academy grad. So what years were you part of the football team, and what year did you graduate for our
Yes, I
listeners?
graduated high school in 2011, and I went to the prep school first, and
Yep.
that's in Newport, Rhode Island. A lot of people don't know about the prep school, but me coming from North Carolina, going up there was a very big difference. The sweet tea is not so sweet, and it's a little bit colder than
It's
what I'm used
cold.
to, but it's so cold. But I
It's
did
so
that for about
cold.
a year so I can get, like, used to, like, this military thing. I don't have any military in my family or anything like that. And then I was actually at the academy in Annapolis from 12 to 16. So that's like 2012 all the way to the season of 15. We were
So I
basically
got
the
to go
last
all the
one
way
for
back
6.
then. How'd you know about the Naval Academy if you have no military in your family makeup? Because for me, my dad was Navy, and I needed he was enlisted, and I needed tuition money, which is what led me to the Naval Academy. But
It was
how'd
all football, all
all
football.
football.
I was actually scared to death. Like, I had no clue what it meant to play football for the Navy. I thought I was gonna, like, enlist and then play football on the weekends, and some people were talking about, like, the front line and, like, all this stuff and then just playing football in between or playing on, like, an aircraft carrier. That's not what it was at all. Like, I didn't really have many people to ask, but I had, like, this Navy guy come to a football game, and he just started talking to me. He was originally from North Carolina, and he really gave me the laydown, and, thankfully, I had a coach who was from Maryland, and he had a friend who had went to Annapolis, so I got to speak to him, and I found out that they do not play football on aircraft carriers, and you do not enlist and play on the
Oh god, that
weekend.
would hurt.
Yeah,
Oh, I
that
just
was
picture
tough.
my knees on that non-skid playing football on a
Oh
carrier. Oh
my
god.
god. And I remember too when I did my signing, I had my friend Alexis. She was crying at the signing because she just knew that I was going to like war and like all this stuff. Then once she like calmed down, the one question she asked me was like, "If you kick the football over the side of the boat, like who goes to get it?" I was like, "Lex, I found out we're not." I said I probably should have circled back on that and told you we don't actually play on the ship. But yeah, that's the type of stuff that was going on there. I had no clue about the military really at all or any of the academies.
Oh, that's funny. My dad was enlisted growing up, and he was retiring about the year I left for the academy, and I looked at ROTC scholarships, and then somebody mentioned the academy I went to visit, and all I saw was, "Hey, this will be a challenge, and it's 4 years paid for, like, let's just do it." And then I get there, and you've gotta play a sport year-round, for those who don't know,
Yep,
and,
yep.
I was a swimmer. I didn't get recruited to swim. I got picked up for a little while, and I was like, "Man, I am bottom of the barrel. I do not wanna give all this to swimming and be bottom of the barrel." And, but I had been a lifeguard growing up and first aid and stuff like that, and I ended up getting picked up by Navy football's athletic staff, training staff, and got to travel with them for 4 years. So I got to do the bowl games. We went to, Dublin, Ireland. We went to the Aloha Bowl in Hawaii. I mean, it was
Oh,
amazing. I
yeah.
got to stand on the sidelines of Army Navy, and, there's nothing like standing on the sidelines of Army
Oh,
Navy,
no.
as you well know.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I know, like and I already knew, like, the best of the rivalries 'cause I'm from North Carolina, I've seen
Yeah.
Duke and UNC, I didn't think that it can get any better, but actually watching or being at an Army-Navy game, you will recognize that there's a huge difference between just, like, playing a game and, like, everybody who's there having a stake in the game, like, it's
Yes. It
completely different.
is. It is. It is very different, and it's hard to explain it unless you've done there, you've been there and you've lived it. So,
Absolutely, and I'm
alright.
trying to explain it to my kids and stuff now. My wife gets it, she's an Academy grad too, she graduated in 2015, so we're both,
Oh,
like,
nice.
we're all in on the GOAT thing.
Oh, yeah, we are too, and actually my kids attend a little school where one of the head of schools, I learned we had been at the school for probably 3 or 4 months, and we're doing a Christmas program, and, it's a small private Christian school, and he starts talking about Army football, and come to find out he played for Army, and I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, no, 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 we can't have this," and so we convinced the staff and the vice principal to let us in his office on the Friday before Army Navy to
there we
decorate
go.
his office. And we've been doing it every year since, and, yeah, my kids are all in now with the Army Navy. In fact, we actually got in trouble 'cause they have a uniform for school, and I sent my oldest in a "Go Navy, Beat Army" sweatshirt on Army
There we
Navy week, and, he got written up because he wasn't in school uniform, and my husband and
Oh,
I are like, "Well, it's worth it.
that's
Take
always
it,
worth it.
take it."
You gotta indoctrinate the kids, like, son when we get off this, I gotta make sure I send you one of my books. I actually wrote a book, a children's book about the Army-Navy rivalry because I wanted my kids to understand, like, how serious it
No
is
way.
and to be a GOAT from, like, the time they're born on. So I'll make sure I send you one of those. You gotta see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so you left the academy and you went on to be a SWO, correct? You and your wife were
That
both
is correct.
SWOs, right?
Mhm.
And drove ships. You were Norfolk, California. Where were you guys
Yeah,
stationed?
so we both so my wife I was originally gonna go Marine Corps, I'll be honest with you. I was gonna go Marine Corps, do the whole "oorah" thing. I thought I
Yeah.
could do helicopters until I found out that I was afraid of heights. That's a whole whole 'nother thing we'll have a conversation about. But my wife had graduated a year before me, she was in Norfolk, she was doing the SWO thing, and I started looking into it. I'd already done the cruises, and I was like, maybe that might be, like, my thing, not because of the boat, it was because I fell in love with the girl, and I was like, "I don't wanna go to Quantico for a whole year without this girl that's gonna be my wife," so I kinda shifted that a bit, and I ended up having a ball, like, going to Norfolk, the food there is freaking great, I had great ships, my first one was all male, USS Ramage DDG-61, did, like, portion of the deployment with those guys, and I learned a lot, and I took on a force protection. I became an anti-terrorism officer for pretty much the rest of my career, in and out of Guam. I did some time in Mississippi in Pascagoula. Then I did some time out in Jacksonville, so it was a lot of good time. I enjoyed it.
Nice. I've got clients in all of those places right now in real estate.
Really?
So that's funny, yeah. And for my audience that doesn't know, since we tend to use a lot of abbreviations in the Navy, SWO is
True.
Surface Warfare Officer, so you're stationed on ships. Alright,
Yeah.
so how did you go from being a surface warfare officer in the Navy to running a podcast called Here for the Dads, which is how I was introduced to you, kind of backwards a little bit, um, and going into this podcast space and this fatherhood mentorship space that, by the way, is just fantastic. So for the listeners that haven't heard your podcast and your fatherhood coaching, in a space that really needs mentorship, how did you transition? I mean, they're so different.
I'll say it started with my wife. Like everything pretty much that's good about what I do or what I have going on is
I love
always
it.
started with my wife. All the way down to my clothes. Somebody's like, "Oh, I really like that shirt." Well, my wife bought it. So I'll give her credit where it's due. When I was in Guam, I was going through a really, really tough time, if I'll be honest with you. There was a lot of overwhelm in a high pressure area of work. We were extremely undermanned, and during that time, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I'm putting a lot into this work thing, but I kind of feel like I'm failing at the family part. I don't feel like I'm being the best husband that I can be during this point in time. I'm not being the best father that I can be, but these are things that I really, really care about. And I
And you
started a
had how many
spiral.
kids back then? How many
During
kids
that
did you have?
time, I actually only had 2 kids during that time. I had my oldest, who is now 8, he turned 8 yesterday, and then my now
Yay.
5-year-old, I took them both with me, and by the time I left, I found out we were pregnant again, but this time with twins. So I'm like,
Oh,
"Okay, so I'm going from 2 to 4 and I'm failing at the family fatherhood thing. Like, how is this possible? What am I supposed to do?" And I started talking to my wife about it, got real vulnerable with her. And she said, "Well, you got to start talking to your friends again. Like, you got to start letting some of this out. Men have this tendency to kind of keep everything in, and we don't always look for that locker room again the way we used to have to be able to talk about things that we got going on and help each other out. I don't know if it's the macho-ness in us, but we kinda wrap it all in there and we do it to ourselves. We kinda create that own culture. Well, when I
well, I
started the
think it's
pod
cultural though.
It
It's
is.
expected of men to be stoic.
Yeah, and it just happens, and we think that's, like, gonna be the strength, but it's actually the
Yeah.
strength of, like, letting it out and finding the words for what it is that you're feeling. That's where the real strength is. So my
Yeah,
wife
and
gave me that
vulnerability.
idea. She was like, "Call your friends. If you gotta start a podcast, like, do it." And I was like, "Wait, everybody started a podcast. I don't think I wanna do that." That sounded
Yeah.
crazy at the moment until I figured out that I wanted to talk about fatherhood. And me and a good friend, we started talking about it. And before you know it, I was in Guam meeting with my good friend Sony, trying to figure out how to really kick this thing off. And men really, really took to it. Like fathers from literally all over the nation would reach out on Instagram and my emails just with different topics and challenges, things they hadn't quite put, words to before. And it became
Yeah.
like this thing I was really, really enjoying. And I'm enjoying it even more now as I create services and things of that nature for the people that are around.
Nice. And how long have you had the Here for the Dads podcast?
The time has really flown. I want to say I started, it was after COVID, almost maybe 2022, I want to say, if not 23. You would think I know that off bat, but the time has moved so fast, I can't even keep up, to be honest with you. I just
I
been
totally
doing
get
it.
that. I totally get that. And you have 5 little ones now.
I
Congratulations.
do have 5 now. So, since going to Guam, I've had the twins who are now 3, 2 boys, and so now, at that point, I had 4 boys, and I was like,
Oh my
"Guys,
gosh.
I either stop here or have the girl," which I did. So now I have a 10-month-old girl, and I'm
I
saying that I
can't.
am done. Fingers crossed.
We
Now
had
don't
our
get me
kids
wrong.
later.
I love
Yeah.
kids, though. Don't get me wrong. I love kids. It's
Yeah.
just it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, it is hard. I would have kept going. We have 3 boys and I have 2 sisters. So there's 3 of us girls that live here in Hampton Roads, and we have 9 boys between the 3 of us girls.
9
Everybody
boys.
had everybody had 3 boys. So 8 biological and then 1 is a stepson. But we don't there are no girls in the next generation.
Oh.
And and my husband and I at the 3rd, and we struggled to get to 3. So we're very blessed to have 3 kids, but, when we were done with number 3, I was like, "I'm not gonna keep trying because statistically, we don't give birth to girls." Like, I would have 4 boys, and 4 boys to me, yeah, that sounds like chaos.
Yeah, it is, like, it really is. You should see my couches and walls and stuff, like, every day feels like I'm cleaning up from, like, a battle or from the 1600s or something like that. It is
Oh, yeah.
crazy here all the time, but I love it,
Yeah.
man. It's stuff that I get a chance to learn from all the time. Because I always tell people, like, I played football all my life. There's so much training that goes into that. Then after that, I went to the military. There's so much training that goes into that. But this fatherhood thing that I care so much about and probably arguably the most important job I've ever had, absolutely no training. It's like,
No.
how is this possible?
It's amazing, isn't it? I remember feeling that sense. Um, the day we left the hospital with my oldest, and when 2 become 3 and you're driving home from the hospital, and we have this infant in the car seat behind us looking at my husband going, "They just entrusted a human life to us, and nobody told us what to do." And
Nobody told me what to do.
it was overwhelming, and nobody tells you that. I think it gets harder as they get older. My sister, whose kids are older, her boys are all in college or in the Marine Corps now, and, she said to me one time, she goes, "Little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems." She's like, "I hate to tell you,
Mm.
Amy, when we were in the toddler years and I thought that was overwhelming," she's like, you are overwhelmed right now, and I know it's chaotic, and my husband was deploying all the time, and, because like you, we were dual mill, but she's like, "Just take a breath and enjoy it because the problems when they get older are bigger and they're more substantial, you know?"
That is a
So
perspective that I have not heard. It makes me wanna fight like the old ladies at the Costco who always say, "Oh, honey, it gets easier." She was
oh,
talking
no.
about after they leave. She wasn't telling me she wa they must not have
Yes.
been talking about the teenage years. They were talking about when
Yes.
they leave, so that is
She
good
was
to
talking about
also
empty nesters.
Yes, yes. I'll be looking for your old lady at the Costco.
That's funny, that's funny. Alright, so you were moved to start this podcast, and you've been going for a couple of years now. Tell my listeners a little bit more about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So Here for the Dads is everything a father could possibly want or need. And this is not a sales pitch at all. This is
That's
helping
okay.
people understand it's like for us dads, there aren't a lot of resources or kind of like outlets where we can find a place to either educate ourselves, to spill out how we're feeling at the moment that really feels like a safe space. There's just not a lot of places for that. When I used to like get on my wife's phone or on her Facebook, it would be like mom group after mom group after mom group. Or like I would just scroll on her Instagram and it's like, hey, here's a secret DIY to like fixing a car seat or like a super cool hack for this. So what I try to do with my podcast is I bring guests on who either just have the moment or need to just spill everything out. They want to have a conversation about a certain topic, a certain theme, or is to attack gap of education. So, like one of my favorite ones are a conversation with a speech pathologist around speech pathology. What is it? We talked about the education system, what fathers could look forward to in the education system, things that they might need help with if your children have special needs or any type of challenges.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like this is something I probably would have never dove into or really asked about. But having this podcast has allowed for different episodes and a space to really give those dads the need in a place where they might feel gapped.
Yeah. Yeah, and you share some great wisdom on your Instagram. I was looking at it the other day, and I mean, it's fantastic. And geez, even just some of the casual things that got me thinking about interactions that you have with your kids, we learn from other parents. We
Yeah,
really do. And sometimes with social media, we get to learn passively where we don't even feel like we have to be vulnerable, but we can watch how other people are doing it and wonder, I think that would work for us.
absolutely. And it's super helpful. It's an I guess a virtual village, if you will. Like everybody's
Yeah.
talking about building the village. And it's great to have the physical one. But if we're being honest, people move around. They don't have as many friends as we used to. But socially on Instagram and online, it's kind of where people look to kind of fill those gaps of emotional damage or to get educated more and get more tips and things of that nature too. So if you really are intentional, you can build that village. And that's kind of what I try to do with my Instagram. Like anytime I have a thought or an idea that kind of crosses my mind, I try to get out the idea that this is only me that has it and just share it. And what I find out most of the time is that other people are dealing with the same thing and kind of has
Yeah.
somewhat of the same thought.
There's comfort in knowing you're not alone, like, I'm dealing
Absolutely.
with this too, and things that you haven't even you think that only your family's experiencing or stresses that only your family, and then when you find that tribe online, it
It's
has
so
been
helpful.
amazing. Yeah.
And
So
it's not even just always the big stuff, like, sometimes I was like, "Where's the fruit going? Like, why every time I buy fruit
oh my
today, it's
gosh,
gone tomorrow?"
I laughed so hard on that post. I laughed so hard
It
that you
is
cannot guess
crazy.
what the fruit is. I have 3 brown bananas sitting on my counter right now because I bought 2 batches because my kids were eating the bananas so fast, and now my youngest last night sat and ate 3 oranges after he ate his entire dinner. He ate 3 oranges, but he won't touch the bananas, and now I have brown bananas.
It
That was
happens.
hilarious.
Happens every
Yes.
time. Like, I'll wake if I
Yes.
wake up too late in the morning and the kids get to the refrigerator first, those strawberries I thought they weren't gonna eat will be half eaten. Like, they'll take one bite and put it right back in the carton and put it back inside. They do it every time. It's the twins, I know it is. I just haven't caught them yet, but I know it's them.
Yeah. It's so funny. So what's been the biggest adjustment going from 4 to 5?
Wow, that is a great, great question because people ask me all the time, am I going to try again? Not try, because obviously I figured it out, right? I figured the formula out. So it's not try again, it's like, are we gonna go for another? And quite
Which,
honestly, like
by the way, is a really bold question for people to ask.
especially like if you don't know me, like you're really gonna ask me a question. We're not sitting at Thanksgiving dinner or and you don't know me at
I
all,
know.
and you're asking me that's a really, really bold question to ask. People stop doing
Yeah.
that.
I
But,
love
like,
it.
I would definitely have a 6 because the adjustment from 4 to 5 really didn't feel that hard. Like, it wasn't that crazy, and I would say that
Well, you'd
because
already made it through twins, so
right,
having one more had to feel easier.
right, like, it literally felt easier, like, I didn't have to
Yeah.
switch back and forth between the sleep and to see, I think, the other oldest boys look at the baby girl and, like, how they're able to share and help, and they kiss her when she comes downstairs from her nap, and, like, that all that overjoy just kinda covers up the rest, and I will say, if anything, it kinda is a elongated period for us, or at least season in our marriage because all our kids are back to back. So it's not
Yeah.
like we we didn't have sleep for 3 years and then we got 5 years of sleep and then now it's baby. It's like, no, we actually haven't slept since 2018. So
We're
we're
good.
pretty we're good. We'll get it on the back end like when we're done. So it doesn't really feel like a huge adjustment. It's like we just had another baby. Now at this point, I don't know life without a baby in my home. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know a life without somebody learning to walk, somebody trying a new food. It's just like a
Yeah.
thing we do. So if anything, I think the adjustment will be when we stop having kids.
Yeah. I can see that. We're having this kinda reality check. I looked around Christmas this year, and I realized this is, like, our 1st season. My youngest is he just turned 7, and we didn't and he gravitates towards older things because 'cause he's got older brothers. And we didn't have any plastic toys. There was nothing that needed to be assembled. There was no, like, play school, big plastic items. And I
Wow.
looked at my husband and I'm like, "Oh, this is totally different." Like, we're into Legos and electronics and,
Yeah.
we're moving up and Christmas gets more expensive but smaller. And so
Yes.
yeah, those seasons when you're kind of at the end,
Yeah.
and they're everything's different, and each season is fun in its own right if you make it,
Yeah. And it's like
but
you
yeah, I
you
can
watch
see.
yourself shift the aisles in Target. Like you're not on the baby aisle anymore. Now you like
Yes.
go to the right, like you said, it's the Legos, and before you know it, it'll be the board games. And it's like, oh my God, we're gonna be out of this and into video games, and then they're gone.
Yeah, and then they're gone. Yeah, I'm giving away baby stuff left and right these days because I know we're not going back there. Um, it's so funny. Um, so tell me kind of what do you think your biggest challenge is as a parent and a dad?
Hmm. It's always for
Especially
me. Go ahead. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I'll say always for me, it's the grace part. Like as many times as I tell other dads, like you have to have grace for yourself. I am always so hard on myself when it comes to being a parent. And I think it's wrapped around being more conscious of my parenting and having the social media, reading the books, having the certification. I now know when I respond a certain way that there's going to be some retroactive something that's going to come from it, no matter if it's going to come out 20 years from now or if I'm going to figure out about it, in a week or two and be able to kind of course correct. I have to know and understand that, like, I am really doing my best and that I'm going to be okay and that my children are going to be okay. I'm not going to be able to be the perfect parent. There's going to be things that he's going to talk about. I just need to prepare myself and be ready for when he's willing to come to me with whatever that thing was that I might have messed up or affected him so that we can continue on the relationship. So, like, every day I'm like constantly, okay, Maya, have grace for yourself. Yeah, you might have just been a little upset because you didn't get out the house with the kids fast enough, or they're not going to sleep and you raised your voice a bit and you don't like to do that. Like, so constantly doing that, I think is probably my biggest challenge to remember.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And I would say my husband, who's not on this, call, obviously, would he holds himself to such a high standard because you love those little beings so much. And sometimes the more you know, the more you're worried you're gonna mess them up because you should be acting with more grace or you shouldn't be yelling. And trying to and sometimes just trying not to do it or trying to do it the way your parents did, depending on how you were raised. You're like, I'm not gonna be that or I am gonna be that, and just
Yeah.
trying to be better at it.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, I can
hard
see
too,
that.
right? Like, cause that's how, like, the leadership frame works is, okay, I'm gonna take whatever from these different leaders and do the best and leave out, like, the rest, the stuff that I don't
Yeah,
like. But I'm also trying to, like, not make it about them to the best of my ability. Like, I don't wanna make it just about my mom and dad because I'm not raising a little me. I'm raising
yeah,
a child that is their own. So if I focus on my child as if like they're a little me, then I'm gonna give them everything that I didn't have, and I'm just gonna focus on that. Well, now they have these other gaps, and come to find out they didn't even really need that stuff that I was trying to push on them. Let them be that child that they are. Let me create my own parenting style, take the good, leave out the rest, and be, who we're meant to be as a family.
yeah, yeah. I find it amazing how hard discipline is in some ways. I mean, not the yelling or getting frustrated that comes easy for all of us when you have multiple kids, but I
Yeah.
would say nobody tells you how hard it is to discipline somebody that you love, and you're doing it out of love, but it's like taking away something or telling my oldest he can't do something that I actually really want him to do, but he can't go do that because maybe he didn't turn in an assignment or things like that. And I want to let him do that. And my husband will have to back me up and he'll whisper behind, he'll say, stay strong. And you love your kids so much you want to cave. Like I want to cave so bad. And he's like,
How
don't do it.
awesome.
Don't cave.
Yeah, how awesome is it to have your husband, like, back you up with that, though? Like, that I can imagine, like, trying to do it by myself, like, my boundaries are, like, not that strong. I would cave every time a child asks me.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I do. Actually, it was just yesterday. We had the conversation with my oldest is 12. He's in 7th grade, and he had worked really hard last semester to get good grades. And then in one class, he didn't turn in 2 assignments, which counted as tests, by the way, and they crushed the quarter. And I told him I was more disappointed that he was capable of so much more. And we were explaining how just not turning things in nullifies all the hard work he did for the rest of the semester. And I said, "Look, he has a cell phone that has limited capability. It's called a Bark phone." And I said, If you miss an assignment this semester, I'm going to have to take away your phone because it's taking away focus." And we use it to be able to get a hold of him on the baseball field and stuff like that. But I said, "I'll have to take it away." And my husband looked at him and he goes, "And I will make sure that she stays strong and doesn't give
There
it
we
back." And his eyes got big. He's like, "Oh," he's like, "I am
Yeah,
not going to let mom cave." And,
we
because
need
I
that.
do tend to be the one to
It's
cave.
not easy, man. It's really not easy, especially when you come to the consequences. And every child is different too. So for
Yes.
administering a consequence or a disciplinary act based on this child might feel a whole lot easier than another. Like one of my
Totally
twins is a
different.
lot more strong-willed than the other. And at times when I'm administering consequences for whatever the action is, I just think to myself, like, oh, I just want to let him be able to do it because the other twin is doing it. I don't want to hold him back. And but it's hard, and I have to keep, like, the end state in mind, like, I am teaching
Yes.
him a lesson. I love him, he's not loving it right now, but I have to stay on course. "Babe, can you help me out with this?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, we tag team a lot, and I am very blessed to have somebody that, my husband and I are so different and yet so much alike, and parenthood is like one of those things that you just you gotta learn as you go. But man, you gotta work at it, and
Yeah,
the more we read and the more we look things up and the more we realize there's a better way to do this or, "Hey, don't expect this from your kids, their brain's not fully developed." You gotta teach it, you can't expect it, you gotta teach it, like teaching patience. like teaching cognitive ability and decision making. They don't just appear with that. They don't just make smart decisions as children if you haven't taught them how to make smart decisions. And so, yeah, I am very blessed to have a husband that where we bounce things off each other. I am not saying we get it right. We probably get it wrong more than we get it right, but it is a learning game.
I sure
So
do I wish they came with some of that other stuff, but they don't come with it.
I know they need to
Like,
come with instructions.
instructions and a blueprint and, like, all the things because I just cannot figure them out sometimes, but I try. I
Yeah,
definitely do try, and, when I think about the patience part, that's something we have to teach ourselves first, like, as parents, like, to create the patience, because
yeah,
the patience is what kinda creates the opportunities to learn about our children and also creates the opportunity for them to learn about life, like, I will always say, like, how could you not know this? Like, you're 7." And it's like, "Well, like, you never taught me, dad." I'm just like, "Oh, you're right." So maybe dad needs to slow down and teach you the difference between a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips screwdriver, or like the wrench, or like what a toilet really does and how it works, and like why we open the door for ladies. Like just these small things that we've kind of taken for granted in our lives because we've done it for so long. We gotta be
yeah,
patient and slow down to do that type of teaching.
yeah. The slow down, take a breath, and get off our phones.
That part.
Slow
That
down, take a deep breath, and get off our phones.
that part. That
Yeah,
has actually helped me a whole lot, and with being a content creator, it's made it somewhat challenging because you naturally feel like you have to be on your phone, you don't wanna miss stuff, you're posting, but I had to really create, like, a rhythm and, like, a boundary around it in my own home because I would try to do something on my phone, but the kids naturally just want or need you for whatever the thing is, and I would get
yeah,
frustrated with them because I'm trying to focus here. And I realized was like, no, that is not fair. I am home. I belong to them. I am daddy, and that's what they need. The phone doesn't need me, and I don't need my
yeah.
phone. So let me put parameters and time frames around that and focus on what the children need. And it's hard. It's challenging sometimes but you can figure it out. We all can.
Yeah, with real estate, I run into the same issue. My phone rings 24/7, 7 days a week. There's always somebody who needs and rightfully so. People are making some of the biggest purchases and sales of their life, and they deserve responses and answers, but I've learned to, frame the time that I'm going to answer things. I finish calls and wrap them up in the car before I come in the house so that they get my undivided attention. But I read something, it was just in the last 24 hours about we think we've got the whole technology challenges under control because we're putting limits on our kids on how many hours they can use the iPad or how many hours they can get on their phone. And it said that that is not the biggest technology challenge that children face. And I thought, oh, well, what is? So I continue to read. And they said the biggest technology challenge that kids are facing these days is lack of connection with their parents because their parents will be engaged in Legos for a couple of minutes, the phone rings, and all of a sudden you break that engagement with the book or with the Legos or with the prayer time, and now they're seeing the back of your phone. And every
Wow.
time you do that, you break that connection with your child, and they learn that that telephone or that social media is more important. And man, if that didn't strike right to my heart, because there's so many
Oh,
times where said, I feel good. I'm sitting down, we're playing Legos, we're reading a book, and I'm like, "Hey, let mommy take this one phone call real quick." And even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but to read about that break in connection, and how it impacts, their social development and their brain and their thinking,
yeah.
and their cognitive abilities. It was huge.
And I mean, it's so hard to like, because you don't know when the kids get it, and they don't know what that feeling is either. To like try to connect with mom or dad, and then they see the phone. They don't know what it's doing to them, but they know it's doing something. And later we
Yeah,
find out it's doing something. And like my kids now, they don't know the exact times, right? But they have an understanding of the parameters that me and my wife have around like our technology and our phone. And they know it as like rest time. They know it as work time. They know it as family time. So during these points in time, it's like, hey, we're eating dinner. Are we supposed to be having, Xbox controllers at the dinner table? Are we supposed to be doing this and that?
yeah,
No. Okay, it's rest time. Can we do this? Can we do that? No. or, it's family time. Should daddy be on his phone? No. And it's helpful because they'll check me too. They'll be like, hey, daddy, it's this time and you're still doing, oh, you're right. You know what? And they'll see me put my phone away. And what I'm trying to show them
Yep.
too is that, hey, you matter more. Hey, I'm respecting the time and the
Yes.
agreement that we put together, and it's not always of just about like the phone and the attention we have to it. Sometimes it's them understanding like we respect them and the time that we have with them. So I try my best, but I don't always get it right.
Yeah.
I'll say that once. I don't always get it right because there's some calls like, hey, we'll do a brand deal for $30,000. I'm like, hey, baby, I got daddy's got to take this call, man. You want to go private school? I got daddy got to do this real quick. But yeah, most of the times I get it right.
Yeah. Oh, we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. All right. So, what are your plans for 2026? Big plans for this
Oh.
year? Goals, aspirations?
Absolutely, they are huge, and they are huge now. I never used to do like write down my goals and stuff. My sister is somebody that I would definitely give credit to for that. She was like, "You're gonna do a vision board." I was like, "No, I'm not because that's for girls." And she's like, "Shut up."
No. And you should vision board with your kids. I did it last year. And boy, it's eye opening to see, to explain to that. Sometimes they pick out their favorite things and pictures that are cool,
Yeah.
but we start talking about what they want to do in life.
Yeah, and it's a game changer, like, we did that
Yes.
for the first time this year too, and what that allowed me to do is to take some of their dreams and their goals and put it onto mine. It's like find out, "Oh, he
Yeah.
wants to go to this place." I'm like, "Well, babe, I think this is actually possible. Let's slide that in here." So my goals have only gotten bigger, and they say, like, if it doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough. So I always also put a date to every dream too because otherwise
Yep.
it's just a dream, I wanna make it a goal. So it's all around like who I want to partner with this year, who I want to meet, who I want to speak to. It's really about like the efforts I put towards servicing fathers. And just like to key you in on some of the things, I'm looking to partner with a lot of hospitals and clinics in the area right now. I've been retroactively thinking about the time when I first became a dad and what things I needed during that time. And I remember like what you were talking about, getting that baby in the car seat or thinking about putting them in the car seat for the first time. And you got that like 1 to 2 day span where you're in the hospital. Baby comes out and then you're going to leave in a day or two. And you're just like, what am I going to do? So I would
Yeah.
love to be able to create a space in the hospital for those dads to come for, 20, 30 minute session, hour if they need, and just talk amongst fathers, dads who are maybe on their first child, maybe dad who's on their second or third, but they're all in that good time frame together. And I can do some education. Maybe I can answer some questions. Maybe we could talk about what's scaring them and kind of create maybe a brotherhood too, because they'll be local. So now you know a
Yeah.
guy who lives, maybe a city over from you. You guys got like same age, similar age, birthday, kids, and maybe in a year or two, you kind of still connect with each other. You go to each other's birthday parties and games and stuff. And I just think it's a great opportunity. So I'm looking forward to being able to do some of that stuff this year too.
I love it. Man, I can't imagine. You really keyed in on the fact that they have kids the same age. I mean, these kids are going to grow up the same time. Um,
Yeah,
and it's a small world. They're going to cross paths, and you don't even know who you're going to cross paths with. But when you know them and you realize you're running into them.
it's so
When we
much
were
more.
in Yes, so much more. It's funny when we were in the hospital giving birth to my first, um, my husband was walking down the hallway and we were a month early, and he's walking down the hallway of the hospital and he looks around and one of the guys from his squadron, his wife's having their third, and they were there. She'd given birth the day before I did. And it's funny that the people that you cross paths with. And
Yeah.
so creating big space. I love that idea of a fatherhood, kind of brotherhood of of men in the same time frame of life.
Yeah, and I think it's the country boy in me too. Like I remember being in a town, and I'm originally from Durham, so it's somewhat city, right? But I kind of was raised where my grandparents were in Sanford, and everybody always knew everybody. You knew when a baby
Yeah.
was coming, you knew someone's getting married. You go down the street to the gas station, you know them, they know you. Every restaurant, and it's like, how can we in this world of being it's easier now to connect because you have social media, but somehow we found a way to like not connect, and there's been more
Yeah,
disconnect in
so
social, like,
true.
people don't talk out in the street
Mhm.
and stuff anymore, so how is it easier to connect socially, but now we're becoming more antisocial? How can I create not only the virtual village, but bring the village together physically so that we can really lean on each other when we need it?
Really cool. I love it. All right, so if my readers were trying to find you online, in the various spaces, how do they find you?
First, I gotta start with saying, like, don't laugh because the way you find me on Instagram is here, the number 4, the dads. Now, when I created the name, I had 4 kids. I now have 5. So don't laugh at me. I'm not changing it to here 5 the
I
dad.
actually I didn't even put it, I
You
didn't put
really
the
put it
correlation.
a lot of people
I just
don't, but
thought
I
it
just
kept
wanna
it shorter.
A lot of people don't. But that is how you find me on Instagram, YouTube. If you're looking for me on Spotify, Apple Music, I am in all those places. It's here for
You're
the dads.
for the
Number
dads.
for the dads. You can put podcast at the end if you're looking for the podcast. But if you're looking for services, let's say you're a corporate entity, hospital, clinic, anything like that, you're going to use FOR and you're going to type here for the dads.com. You can find packages, coaching, all those great things on our website.
And you stay local primarily, or do you do any traveling?
I do some traveling. I try to keep it to a minimum that I work from home. My kids really aren't used to seeing daddy leave. I remember last week, it was like, daddy left twice in 1 week. I'm just like, dude, you have no clue. You don't even remember me going on deployments. But yeah, I pretty much travel anywhere. I've done things in Dallas, DC. I'm right now in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where I do most of my work, but I am willing to travel.
Yeah, that's awesome. My boys are 6, 8 sorry, 7, 9, and 12. They had birthdays, and I travel for work for real estate conferences a couple of times a year, and I've learned to say no, and I pick 2 or 3 conferences a year, but my younger 2 still cry when I leave. It is gut-wrenching to
Oh my
leave them, and I'm
gosh.
leaving them with their dad for a week, but they still mommy leaving is hard, so I can respect that. Yeah,
It's really, really
yep.
hard. And we
We
spend a
haven't
lot
even
of
got
time
through that
together.
stage.
They're just used
Yeah.
to spending time with you and seeing you, so it's like
Mhm.
really a compliment, you know, but it just hurts, especially, like, right at the front door. And he's like, "Oh, wave at daddy," and they're just crying, and I wanna go, but we come
Yeah, it
back.
gives
We
me a
all
lot of, a newfound respect because like you, my service days and my deploying days were before my kids, and my husband was still while we had kids, but they don't remember it,
yeah,
and so, I have a lot of respect for those parents that say goodbye for months on end, like, that is a difficult task,
absolutely
so
is.
alright, so you do a bit of traveling, they can find you at Here for the Dads. I encourage all the husbands and the fathers and the soon to be fathers and dads out there to look you up. Honestly, your Instagram it's hilarious. I laughed as a mom, so the moms look it up. You will relate to some of these stories. I was watching you prep a steak for your wife and teaching
Oh,
your
yeah.
boys that there are certain times and days that you just cook for mama because it's
Yep,
important to cook for mama.
absolutely.
And I thought, ooh, I got a couple more days. I'm gonna shoot that over to my husband and say, "It's time to cook for mama."
There we go. That's all you
I
gotta
loved
say.
it. I loved it. So, well, thank you for sharing and thanks for coming on the podcast. I love it. I look forward to following you this year. You've been an inspiration, definitely in the podcasting space, but really, it is fun to expand that virtual tribe in the parenting space. So thank you. And yeah, and go Navy, beat Army.
Go Navy, beat Army. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And for all of our guests, join us on Spotify, YouTube. Look for the Dispatch on Purpose. We have a great 2026 lined up, and I can't wait to bring you some more wonderful guests. Happy New Year.